Hi, this is a tutorial for Warrior 2, one of the core postures for any yoga repertoire. This is one of the most famous postures, one of the ones you always see on Instagram. So to get into Warrior 2 depends on where you're starting from. If you're starting from the floor, it'll be different. If you're starting from standing up, it'll be different. A nice way to do it, just to make sure that you're familiar with it, is to start from a standing position. Take a nice deep inhale, raise the arms, and as you exhale, step back so that you're coming into a high lunge. And then as you exhale again, twist your left foot so that your left foot is ideally 90 degrees, your right foot is perpendicular to your back foot. Now, so depending on where you do yoga, what style of yoga you do, who you do yoga with, who your teacher is, they all have different tricks and tips. So, if you're doing Ashtanga, it's very particular. You've got to have your feet at a certain place. They've got to be in line with some things. The most important thing, though, is that you feel comfortable in this position. You feel strong and your knees are safe. Really, really important. In almost every single yoga posture, you've got to check your knees. So, this tutorial here is a little bit of everything mixed into one. The important thing is that you take the time to find out how this posture can work for you. So normally what we start off by saying is that the back foot is at 90 degrees. The front foot is perpendicular, so it's facing towards the front of the mat, and the back heel lines up with the back arch. If you have a nice line down the middle of your yoga mat, you can use that. However, it is really important to remember that it depends on how your hips are formed. So if you have really wide hips, maybe it's uncomfortable to have your back heel in line with your arch, and maybe it's better that it's in line with your heel. So play around with that front foot, find out where it works best, but what is important is that the toes face forward. Moving away from the back foot, the front foot into the back foot. Again, it depends on the formation of your hips. If you have a hip that naturally internally rotates, it might actually be more comfortable for you to turn your toes slightly forward. Remember that in Warrior 2, our hips want to be facing towards the side. So if you turn your toes forward and your hips move forward, that's not the right posture for you. You need to have your toes turned out so that your hips are facing straight out to the side. Second most important thing is that for the back foot, you need to have the weight moving into the outside edge of your foot. So you don't want it to lean on the inside, because then you collapse your ankle, you bend that knee, you twist your hip, and you're going to get yourself hurt. So push that weight into the outside edge. Coming back up to the front foot now that we've got a nice long straight line. The front foot, big toe pushing into the mat. Make sure you can see your big toe. If your knee is falling in, then again, you're twisting the knee, twisting the hip, you're going to get yourself injured. So use that inner thigh, push your knee out so that your knee is now directly over the ankle. Remember, with Warrior 2 and with all the other warriors, you can change the distance between your legs, so you don't have to have an enormous stride. That's not what it's about. What it's about is opening those hips and working that inner thigh. That is what you're looking for in this posture. So it doesn't matter how wide your feet are, it matters how you feel. If, however, your legs are quite close together and you're doing that, that's not a good thing. You want to open your legs wider so that your knee stays over your ankle and doesn't go beyond your toes. If it's going beyond your toes, your feet are too close together. So once you've got your base sorted, your thighs are nice and engaged, your inner thigh is pushing your knee outwards, we're coming into the hips now. You've got the weight moving into the outside edge of your foot, so your knee is protected. The hips are opening. So if you're a little bit stiff here, you're not very flexible, you might find this posture quite difficult to hold because you're really having to work to keep that knee open. That's okay, it comes with time. Use the time, use this energy to feel and get to know your body so you know what stretches are best for you afterwards. And now the second thing that we tend to do as we come into the hips is we lean forward and the bum comes out. So if I do it, so you So you can see from the side, legs are all nice, but then either the shoulders come forward or I stand like this. My bum is out, my chest is forward, my back is collapsing. And that's not a good thing because it means that you're not getting the proper stretch in your hips. It means that your lower back is unprotected, and it means you're putting a lot of weight into that knee. So what you need to do is, like with many of the other postures, you need to tuck that tailbone under, which can be quite difficult. So tuck the tailbone under, bring that pubic bone forward, engage the core, pull your belly in, and now suddenly feel how much strength you're having to use in this hip area to hold yourself nice and strong. So like with all yoga postures, they look very beautiful. They look fairly simple, but we're actually having to do a hell of a lot of work to hold ourselves in here. So the tailbone's tucked under, belly is engaged, and then you bring your arms out to either side, hands are at shoulder height, and you look at your right middle finger. Now here's another trick that we tend to do and how to get out of it. So what tends to happen is that, especially if your bum is sticking out, you're leaning forward and you're reaching forward with that hand. So tuck the tailbone under, and now look where my shoulders are. My shoulders are leaning forward. We want the shoulders to be over the hip. So again, you need to look down, you need to think, is my shoulder closer to my knee than it is to my hip? If it is, use the back hand, pull backwards, bring your shoulders back over your hips. Reach out with your fingers, make sure there's energy in your fingers. You want to be reaching out, and that'll help open your chest. And again, bring lots of life into your body. As you inhale, again, lengthen the spine. Feel it reaching up through your neck. And look at your middle finger of the front hand. Deep inhales in through the nose. Long exhales out. Feel how much your body is working. Maybe your right thigh is already trembling. And then exhale, bring your hands down, and if you want to come to the front of the mat, step up, reach up, and Samastitihi. And that is Warrior 2. I recommend doing it on the other side just to balance yourself out. And if you found this tutorial helpful, check out the other ones that I've got. Thanks.